1883. Nietzsche invents the concept of the Übermensch in his book, Thus Spoke Zarathustra. The concept was this person would be the ideal human, one who would discard old ways of thought and impose their new values on broader society, dragging it forward out of traditional morality systems. In a way, the purpose of the philosophy is to advocate for a bit of social Darwinism, to pull yourself forward, to be the strongest one in the pack, and to set a course and be a leader for the people around you. Instead of being constrained by old ways of thought, the philosophy encourages you to pave your own way in the future and do what you think is right, regardless of what anyone else thinks. Ironically, the meaning of the philosophy and the way it's been used has been changing throughout history, and is really determined by the person using it in the first place. The philosophy's versatility means that it's been able to be used by many people throughout history. This all being said, why am I opening up this video with this? I mean, you've seen the title. Well, this philosophy is heavily tied into the character growth of our main character, the Demi-Fiend, protagonist of one of the best JRPGs to come out on the PS2, Shin Megami Tensei 3, Nocturne. Nocturne is the third numbered sequel in the broader Shin Megami Tensei franchise. Other entries include Digital Devil Saga, the Persona series, which you're more likely to be familiar with, Devil Summoner, and many more spin-offs. Each home entry features as new cast of characters and locations and plotlines, but the overall point of the games is the same. You are a silent protagonist whose normal, for them, life spirals out of control due to a massive apocalyptic change. Demons quickly run amok in the new world, and as you progress through varying degrees of destroyed landscapes to eventually be the deciding factor in the never-ending war between law and chaos. On the way, you will punch demons, your friends, and various gods in the face to create a new world that only you desire. The game was directed by Katsuda Hashino in his first time directing in the broader SMT franchise. Gorgeous artwork done by Kazuma Kaneko and composition created by Shoji Meguro. I wanted to draw attention to each team member as they were a rock star in their respective field, and their work here is one of their biggest accomplishments to date before we reach the Atlas Crown Jewel and sub-franchise starter, Persona 3. Yes, I'm treating the franchise if it started with a third one, you're gonna have to make peace with that. The team set out to create a JRPG which would change the rules of the home franchise. Quickly expanding in scope, Nocturne was pushed to the PlayStation 2 for its more powerful hardware. This was a big change, as the last two numbered titles were released on the Super Famicom and were in first person. The more powerful hardware allowed for a new realization of world building and gameplay. The overworld followed a similar structure to the old games, but dungeons and locales were freely traversable in 3D for the first time, creating a sense of immersion previously impossible for the franchise. Battles, conversations, and story events also took place in 3D, keeping the player immersed in the world that Atlas has created. This also allowed for the first 3D realization of Kaneko's art style, who had been working on the franchise since the first entry. This graphical work allowed for the realization and really brought a unique flavor to this title. In addition to the general art style, the protagonist, major demons, and side characters of the game were also all designed by the aforementioned Kaneko. Kaneko's art style is bold and has a heavy use of color and contrast. Human characters look stylish and alive, yet, in a weird contrast, doll-like. This art style has created bold, expressive designs that are immediately noticeable compared to a lot of generic anime designs. For example, take these three characters and see if you can pick up the Kaneko character. I'm guessing that you picked this character, which, if so, awesome, you get the prize. This unique art style would be realized across the game to create a variety of unique designs, immediately noticeable when we take a look at our protagonist, the Demi-Fiend. The Demi-Fiend starts the game depicted as a normal high school kid, wearing sneakers, shorts, a hoodie. He's an average of a human as they come within this universe. He starts the game heading to the local hospital with his two friends to check on his homeroom teacher. He then proceeds to search the hospital, nearly get killed by a cultist, watch the world end, and have a small child drop a tapeworm in his eye. By the way, we're third man's top set in this game. Whereas past protagonists ranged from normal high schooler to future sci-fi warrior, the Demi-Fiend is otherworldly. Keeping the sneakers to remind us of his high school days, the rest of his body is covered in tattoos pulsing with demonic energy, and partially inspired by the Red Hot Chili Peppers of all things. His eyes now glow a pale yellow, and a spike on the back of his head, which according to Kaneko is an organ allowing him to learn and control demonic power. In addition to the visual design, his animation expresses a combination of human technique and feral energy, a half-breed caught between worlds that is this character. Going on similar journeys to you are your two best friends. Chiaki, a rich girl and believer in survival of the fittest. Isumu, a hipster and believer in being a friendless basement dweller. Ryoji Hijiri, mysterious reporter who may or may not have been the protagonist of the second game, doomed to immortality. And on the bad guy side, we have Hikawa, a cult leader with the widow's peaks that would make Vegeta jealous. He's a believer in logic and being emotionally dead. Last, but certainly not least, there's Yuko, who's not only your homeroom teacher mentioned in the hospital, but perhaps the woman who's instrumental to ending the world in the first place. Barring Ryoji, each of these side characters go through transformations of their own as their narrative arcs progress and the rebirth of the world nears. Kaneko really flexes his visual design muscles here, combining his stylish human characters, love of mythology, and demonic designs to create very interesting through lines as characters progress into the game's major bosses. Bosses are a major part of the gameplay loop, capping off, although occasionally sprinkled within, the dungeons. Dungeons in Nocturne feature a variety of visual design techniques, from the more realistic, like a mall, to a construction site, to the more bizarre, a demonic temple, an underground cavern, or a demonic labyrinth, where Lucifer is waiting for the protagonist to join his side. All these locations that we visit are beautiful and make great use of Kaneko's art style, while being also void of the life that our characters knew. These locations are not just brought to life from the art, however. Some of the demons there will interact with the player, expressing a variety of personalities and goals. These little interactions change as the narrative progresses, helping facilitate the feeling that these demons are living their lives with or without you there. It lends itself to the feeling that you are a tiny being in a world that's way bigger than you, and rather than the events of the world revolving around your existence, you're just a player in this massive chessboard. While the solitude will occasionally be broken up by these chatty demons and the monsters that you'll encounter and fight, Nocturne as a whole is a very solitary game. There are no friendship power-ups, no true companions who have your back through thick and thin. Usually, it's just you and the demons that you have strong-armed to join your cause. As the game proper starts and you awaken in the hospital with your new powers, you fight your way out to discover the state of the world. You find out Tokyo now exists as the Vortex World, a place functionally like the inside of a sphere where gravity works by pushing you away from the core rather than pulling you towards it. The overall map features dead desert landscapes and an icon similar to the traditional SMT games. But at the same time, the world will visually progress as the major characters make their plays within the narratives. These plays will have major ramifications on the world, and the player will have the option to either side with or oppose these decisions. Opposing these decisions naturally will lead to the game's combat system. Combat in Nocturne uses a turn-based system fans of JRPGs will be familiar with in concept. Players will use the turn press system, a system that will reward you with more turns for hitting weaknesses, and punish you by taking turns away for hitting resistances or missing your opponents with your attacks. What makes the system unique is that enemies are playing by the same rules and will be targeting your weaknesses and rewarded in the exact same way the player is. Now, while this does lead to a few unreasonable situations,
oh, this is gonna suck.
For the most part, as you learn the system and how to break it, the game settles into a steady, if not challenging pace as you exploit the system against your foes. Buffs are paramount to success and instant kill spells are encouraged. Status elements are needed to progress, and mixing and matching your strengths and weaknesses can be the difference between living and dying. The party system of the game operates off of a similar premise. Since you don't have a group of true companions backing you up, you gain allies by recruiting demons you encounter and then fusing them together to create stronger demons. This leads to a weird minigame of sorts where in the field you will converse with your foes and try to entice them to join your side. Sometimes they may need to be strong-armed, sometimes bribed, and as the game progresses and you become more feared, they'll actually beg you in order to be spared. These demons are then able to be fused together alchemy style to create stronger monsters to fight for your causes. Think Pokemon, but a lot more hardcore. These beings become more prominent figures in various cultures and mythologies as the game progresses. You may start the game with an average angel, and you can finish it with Metatron, the voice of God himself, which you've subjugated to your will after beating his ass. Anything goes if it means progress. The gameplay loop really comes together, wherein it strikes a fascinating mix where you feel like a powerful hunter, yet at the same time, one hunting prey way above your own pay grade. Adding to this emotional high is the dynamic soundtrack composed by Shoji Meguro. Shoji Meguro is the main composer for the Persona team. Born in Tokyo, Shoji musically took an interest in classical and jazz. While he composed music for a variety of games within the company, Nocturne was his first time as a leading composer, an opportunity he took to with vigor. He composed a variety of music going from orchestral pieces signifying the godliness of your opponents, rock tunes to pump the player up as they kick demon ass, to more melancholic work, like one of my favorite pieces, Mystery. These different sounds all come together to create a unique OST that I still regularly enjoy alongside Magoto's other work that I may one day talk about. In spite of everything we've spoken about, however, the projected success of this game wasn't really attained by Atlus. At least, not the first go-around. Initially projected to sell in the ballpark of 350,000 units in Japan. The game did not hit its sales goals, and barring one initial re-release, which is the version we had localized in North America, the game was left behind to be outshined by the more popular Persona franchise later released. While there has been one numbered sequel alongside a spin-off to that sequel, it seemed Nocturne was destined to be forgotten by Atlus. And then, 17 years after initial release, Atlus released an updated version of the game for modern hardware, combining content from both versions and adding a dub to the game, giving life to the characters, and giving them an ability to express themselves to a level previously not achieved in the initial releases. This definitive version of the game will be reaching our shores in 2021. And with this release, I think it's important to cover the most compelling part of the game. We've covered a healthy amount on Nocturne here, from the gameplay to the world and art, but we haven't really touched much of the main narrative. After all, I must have opened this video with all that talk about philosophy for some reason outside of never having completely grown out of my angsty teenage years. Well, at its core, Nocturne is a really weird coming-of-age piece, where our hero, quote-unquote, achieves self-actualization of who they really are and who they were born to be. At the same time, the individuality of the game comes from a genuine lack of judgment and morality imposed by the developers of the game. There are many adventures, countless games that have you save the world. There's also lots of games that take a darker tone. Nocturne, though, is unique in that there is no right answer, whether for the player or the development team who's made this product. Whether the player chooses one of the more unique alignment options or the quote-unquote canon true demon ending based off of Apocalypse, the game enables you to choose the future as you see fit. It puts you in the position to become a person who isn't really under anyone's control, and able to seize their destiny through working hard to determine the direction of humanity and life through their own merit. Finally, it shows the growth of a character through sound, animation, and world building. A normal person growing up to be something more, while at the same time keeping that character silent. This is why I think the game resonates with a loyal, if niche fanbase, and has helped to be the crown jewel of the franchise. With the last year of the COVID pandemic, I think we can agree that times have been difficult. I think we've all realized how much we take for granted and miss the things that we used to be able to do. And just like in this world of demons, life can so easily be turned on its head for all of us. That's why I want to make this video. I think the story of someone finding out what they're meant to be and setting out to achieve that is the kind of escapism that can really resonate with people in modern days. And with, in theory, vaccines coming on the horizon and the return to some sense of normalcy, I think we're all eager to be the people we used to be again. That's why I think this game is important, especially now, and why I think it should be experienced. Hey guys, I just wanted to say thanks for checking out the video, and big shout out to IKeyPlays for providing the footage that you've been watching for the gameplay in this video. Link in the description to his channel. I'm hoping to create more videos like this, so if you have any suggestions or topics for improvement, please let me know in the comments below. Stay safe, healthy, and I hope to see you for our next talk.